happy with it? Oh.
The browser plugin in Chrome would crash like at first it wouldn't install it. I had to go in and manually like throw it in there. Because it says it won't install on for Windows 8. So I get it thrown in there, and then it's crashing every like third time I run a test or.
Oh, damn! Sorry. Okay, I don't use Windows 8, but okay, that sucks. I know. Yeah, Murphed. Okay, well, thanks for the feedback.
I'm trying it out. I gotta do that.
Okay, well, hey, here we are, last class, all done, woo! Or at least I'm saying woo because I'm almost all done, because I got a lot of grading to do this weekend, so maybe not so much. Just to sort of bring things to a close, there's just some parting thoughts that I have. I'd like to say what I hope that you've learned over the last 8 weeks. We'll talk about what I've learned. This has been a good experience. Oh, hey. We'll figure out how to get you the test shortly. Talk about things that I'll do next time, and then just sort of tell you guys what else you can do with Java. So what do I hope you've gotten out of this course? Well, I hope you've got an appreciation for the Java programming language. Gotten some good experience with objects, object orientation, and somebody else's API. So a class library that's that you're encouraged to use in class instead of saying don't pay attention to the string class, instead use pointers. I don't know how much experience you guys had with exceptions beforehand, but in Java, they're a part of life, but they can make your code, well, they do make your code safer. If you're using runtime exceptions, they don't get in your way too much. Hope you've learned how to work with new software, new programming tools. You guys use Maven from day one, and the GGBT stuff, there's the GGBT and the Jetty, there's a lot of stuff to learn there, and learn stuff that's probably different from what you've experienced before. And I hope that you've learned how to navigate through an API, looking at the Java docs or using what your IDE is telling you. Hope that's been a new and exciting experience for you. But most importantly, I hope that you've learned how to solve problems, which you probably knew before, but I think I can tell from some of the interactions, some of the questions, that you've encountered stuff that's new to you. So hope you've learned how to analyze the specification and derive code from it. Looking at the homework assignments, there were some subtleties there, and that I think, based on the questions that we got during class and in the community, it's clear that you are paying good attention to the specification. Design stable and reusable code is another thing that I think you all got a good amount of experience with in here, right? That stuff that you wrote during the first week, your fundamental appointment book classes, you're still using them, here this last week in your GWT assignment. Hope you've learned how to describe your solution through documentation, things like the README, your Java docs. It's great to be able to say it in code, but to be able to communicate it using written language is important also. Even if you didn't do it right the first time, hope you learned the benefit of doing things right and doing things well the first time. Leveraging tools like unit tests and test-driven development. Even if you didn't do it yourself, I hope you saw enough examples of it here so that if you encounter it again, it's something that you will consider. I've seen you guys do a lot of research and on your own, so you can answer your own questions, and then fix problems when they occur, and not leave lots of technical debt, lots of things hanging around in your code because they'll sneak up on you later. Well, what have I learned this term? As we said on the first day, this was an experiment. Instead of me getting up here and lecturing and telling stale jokes for 2.5 hours, I recorded everything and put it all up on the YouTube. I found it to be very liberating. This was the most fun that I've had teaching this class in really quite a while, because instead of just me up here trying to keep you awake, I felt that it was much more interactive. Or at least, when I was typing, the clicking kept you awake instead of me having to speak to keep you awake. And I really enjoyed writing code with you guys. Sort of the conversation that we had. I really liked the coding kata exercises where it'd be like, we'd work together and then we'd work apart and then we'd come back together. It's sort of that back and forth and the feedback. I thought it was an effective way of sharing what we've learned and a good tool for communication and learning. And it also gave me some food for thought. Like, okay, we saw some examples of test-driven development. And I gave lots of examples of unit tests. I didn't stress it terribly much, but we certainly saw it in class. And I wanted to ask you guys, I mean, did it resonate with you? Does it sort of make sense, whether or not you like it or not, but sort of, did you learn about it? Okay, well, I'm seeing some nods, and so that's good. For me, like so many things, we sort of get to where I'm in my career, these things that are best practices make sense because I've had to learn it the hard way, right? But you guys, have only had a limited experience with stuff. Yeah, Ben?
I was going to say about the tester development, like I enjoyed learning about it. I think I did learn a lot about it, but I mean, I never used it once in any of my projects, and I don't know about everywhere else, but I'm guessing a lot of people maybe did the same.
I kind of wish I had something.
Well, and
Yeah.
to me, it was almost learning a whole new language too. In that, how do you incorporate these, like all the assert this, assert that, when do you use it, and it was just. I feel like if I would use that solely the amount that I've seen you, like in your examples, I'd be a month on a small little thing trying to figure out how this assert's doing it. I mean, after eventually I'll figure it out, but the learning curve.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm going to think about for next time, is how to either de-emphasize it or to figure out how to best present it so that it is more relevant to you guys, and that you'll feel comfortable taking the risk, because there's a risk, right? It's more code that you have to write, and even though I say, hey, the time that you invest writing tests is time that you save debugging. Yeah, it took me a while to sort of get enough experience where I felt, where I said, okay, it's really worth making the investment.
I thought, like, especially, and I find this a lot with school projects, is that, we usually have other classes that we're doing and stuff, but sort of like, I gotta get this done, and I'm not as concerned about reusability, even if that's come back and bite me in the ass next week when I need to use this code again. But, so for me, it was sort of like, I guess it depends on what your goal was. So I definitely learned about test-driven development, but I didn't get a lot of first-hand experience with it. Like, if you want us to actually use it, I would say make it a requirement, and then maybe have the project smaller, and then I'll do it. If you tell me that.
Yeah, right. And so, like, one of the tests is make sure I'm going to run your unit tests, make sure there are 20 dots that get printed out. Well, and that's sort of like what I struggle with, is that on the one hand,
test-driven development. That is the prime mechanism by which
Uncle
test-driven
Bob,
development
what's
works.
going on?
But it depends upon something
What the
critical.
hell just happened? Oh, wow. Oh, I think I was playing a video, and wow, yeah, I was playing a video, but I had the mute on. Oh, wow, that was crazy. Okay, sorry. And caught on screencast. Speaking of which, I thought it was just super easy and cheap for me to record the classes as screencasts, and I think that ended up benefiting you guys. Certainly I think we got a good return on investment there. One thing I noticed is that I felt like we lost a number of people from that first day, although I think now that everybody's back again, it's okay. No judging. I kind of worry that maybe the approach is a little too radical. And actually, for those of you who maybe we haven't seen in a couple weeks, do you feel comfortable saying where you've been? Or was there something about the class that wasn't compelling enough? And you've already done your exams, you can't change it, so don't worry about it. The feedback now?
My father fell, and I've been.
That's right, yeah, you had to go out of town, yeah.
Stuff there.
I just had childcare issues. Wednesdays aren't really good for me.
Okay.
But I made the wife take the night off.
Tell her thanks on my behalf.
Gotta take the final.
I took like 2 weeks off essentially from coming here because I don't have as good excuses as anybody else. I just had other stuff that I wanted to do. And I just think the approach that you took sort of allowed people to do that. I think that if I'd skipped all the classes, that would have been hard, but you put stuff online and it's mostly project based, and for better or worse, I'm trying to, I don't want to sound like an ass. It was easy to skip 2 weeks, to not come here physically. And maybe that's part of what the point was, to have that stuff online. I really like that because I did have other stuff going on.
Okay, and it is a balance, right? And, we're all adults here. We have lives, we have families, we have other commitments and things like that. And so, I wanted to make sure there was a flexibility. But, if there, and that's why I do it, to make sure that, you guys have the flexibility that you need, that you guys, can, whether it's 2 weeks or whether it's, more, make sure that you can, get what you need to get out of the course, and also live
I
your
would
lives.
also watch the screencast multiple times, because when you're sitting in a lecture for a long time, you tune out. And when you're sitting there watching the screencast for a long time, you don't take a pause.
You tune out.
You tune out, so I'd come back and watch it multiple times and pick up different things each time I watch it.
Okay,
So
good.
That's one of the nice things about having. I'd also watch all the classes again, even if I sat through them.
Okay, right on. Well, thanks for that feedback.
Yeah, I did that as well, watching classes that I was here for.
Yeah, mostly like procedures of how to,
Yeah.
how we're using Maven, and it'd be like, watch it, go back.
Oh, excellent. I really appreciate that because that's what I was hoping for. It's sort of, it's it's really easy for me, but I hope it's a resource that you're using. I'm glad you were able to leverage that. Good. So,
Especially while working on assignments, it was nice to be able to go back and like, oh, I remember Dave did that thing in class. How did he hook up that method? It's like skip to the point that I wanted.
With the GWT stuff,
Yeah.
I watched him do the thing. Where was it?
well, that's one of the things I realize is like there's just a lot there, and even in the lecture, it's okay. Well, good. Okay, good. I'll continue doing that then. The Google Plus community, it seemed pretty effective. I still like it better than just like email trails back and forth because it's easier for me to embed videos and watching on a small device and stuff like that. That's what it's there for. I'm seeing nods like that. Okay, that was good. Okay, good. Continue that. So I had a couple of ideas for the next time. I like using GitHub, and boy, source code management is something important. So I'm trying to figure out if I can really integrate that in, like maybe as we're doing a code kata or something, where it's like okay, I'll provide you some starting point or whatever, and go check it out at GitHub and work with it. I don't know. I need to think about that. And then this kind of happens every term, right? Where it's like the last 2 weeks worth of lectures, you never get to use it, and it's like we started. We go to the effort. I don't know if you guys watch the videos or not, but certainly I recorded it, and I think it's just important stuff, and it should be in an advanced course. But realistically, if we don't use it, why bother learning it? So I got to figure out how to integrate that better into the course.
I think you could skip. Personally, I think you could skip the first assignment.
Oh, with the
I think you could have just gone right into the second one.
even if you'd never used Maven before, because I've thought about that, and it's like just sort of that learning curve of.
It really depends. Like I think I'm kind of lower. Like I just got finished with the 300 level, or 300 not 300 level sort of. So like I'm just entering in it, and for me it was challenging just to pick up Java and one from C++. So
That's true.
It really
I use
depends on-
Java some, so yeah.
Okay, well, more stuff to think about. Thanks.
But the GitHub, maybe, like, I really liked it. I really liked practicing through it. So maybe, I don't know, if it's possible to maybe use that as how you grade them or, like, get those assignments?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and where it's like, because I mean, it's like you instead of submitting, but then it's like, I think in order to really make that work, it would we'd have to do like branches and stuff for each assignment, so that you submit it on Wednesday, but if I don't grade it until Sunday afternoon, you don't want to have like the current state would be all intermediate and stuff. So I'll think on that because it's like it's like that would be I think a cool way of doing it because you can get a private repository and you can share it with me and stuff like that.
Version control doesn't get talked about a lot here, at least in my experience taking the class I've taken.
Right.
Obviously, anytime you do anything in the real world,
You ought to. And if you don't, run away because that means they suck. Anyway, cool. Yeah, thanks. Okay, what's next with Java? Gee, we mean you didn't learn everything you need to know in 8 weeks? What? Don't ask for your money back. There's a lot more. So we looked at some enterprise Java stuff, really enterprise web stuff. Well, there's enterprise backend stuff. So there's Java database connectivity, JDBC, which is an API for working relational databases, your Oracles, your MySQLs, your Microsoft SQL servers, all that kind of stuff. We saw Google Web Toolkit, which was a really a kind of unique web framework. There are tons of other web frameworks out there, old stuff like Java Server Pages, newer stuff like Java Server Faces, Struts, Tapestry, all sorts of good stuff like that. Web services, we saw sort of examples of homegrown REST where we assembled the content and URLs ourselves and stuff like that. There are some really nice tools and standards and APIs for doing web services that make it much easier to add a REST interface to your application. Java 8 is coming, and I think the big thing in Java 8 is Lambda support. So functional language features inside of Java. So instead of using like anonymous inner classes to have like, here's a piece of functionality, they'll have something that looks a lot more like a Lambda closure. Have you guys seen any functional languages yet? No? Yeah, I mean, a couple of you guys a little bit, yeah. Probably, some Haskell or some Lisp variant or something like that. Anyway, functional languages are coming back into style. This happens every 40 years or so. And so Java is considering how to add some of this stuff to the language. And there's also something called the Java Community Process, which is a standards organization, for lack of a better word, that is responsible for defining new language and API enhancements to the Java platform. But in all honesty, while Java is still an incredibly popular language and lots of people are using it, and the Java runtime, the JVM is just, really awesome, it's kind of becoming passé. It's kind of becoming old. Now, granted, everybody's been saying Java's dead for 10 years and everything like that, but, serious people are, looking for better languages, and people have implemented different languages that run on top of the JVM. So there's a language called Groovy, which is basically, Java. Something that looks a lot like Java, but it has nicer syntax. There's a lot of boilerplate. Right? Think about generics and all the stuff that you need to do to use that. Well, Groovy Groovy doesn't require that. You can use it. It's basically a superset of the Java programming language, but it takes a lot of the boilerplate out, and so it makes your code more concise. There's a language called Scala, which is an object functional hybrid that really excels in situations where you want performance and concurrency. So lots of threads all doing the same thing at the same time. Functional languages are really good for optimizing that, but Scala, because it's written in Java, can not only leverage the JVM, but then can also work with Java APIs, because at the end of the day, it's all running inside of JVM. JRuby, which is, Ruby, implemented in Java. And so then if you're a Ruby person, but you're in a Java shop, well, you can use JRuby. And for the hardcore functional programmers out there, there is a dialect of Lisp called Clojure with a J, which is, Lisp on the JVM if you want to do that. And these languages have some really nice benefits. They're different from Java, and so someone like myself that's really been steeped in Java for so long looks at some of these things, especially Clojure, because Lisp, boy, it's like reading an Emacs configuration file. It takes some getting used to, but there's some very powerful things.
Right?
Well, exactly, yeah. But there's some very powerful things that you can do. So, hey, what's next with me? I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but there's a program in Portland State called PSEP, which is an internship program, although I realize that most of you are getting pretty close to graduating, and so you'll be off and getting a real job. But maybe if you know someone who is earlier in the program, or some buddy of yours or whatever, I would encourage them to look into it. PSEP is it's a 2-year internship commitment where you do 4 6-month internships. And you rotate through several companies doing various, different kinds of software engineering. You'll spend 6 months doing development work, writing code. You'll do 6 months doing QA, testing, learning about that. And then also DevOps, scripting, automation, machine wrangling, things like that. And Tripwire is a sponsor. We're a founding member of the program. We've had several interns come through, and they've all been really great to work with. And they've really been able to go on to really get awesome jobs and stuff like that, because they graduate not only with their degree in hand, but with some really great experience behind them. And I think a couple of you, Sean, you're in the PSEP program, right? No, that's right. Yeah, you can't be because you're Canadian. Yeah. Is anybody? Yeah, Dan. Yeah, you are. So where are you interning now?
At Thetis.
Oh, right. Yeah.
DevOps.
Cool. And so, is this your second internship?
Yep. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm only doing 3 because I'm graduating next summer. So you guys can do 3 rounds backgrounds too. That was one of the things that Warren was kind of adjusting with the steering committee.
Well, that's a good point. I don't know if it really made it sort of official or not, but yeah, we've had a lot of people that sort of like, hey, after a year and a half, they're ready to graduate. They've got enough credits and everything like that, and so we're not going to, tell them they can't graduate or whatever. It's like we want to, make sure that we can work with them. But yeah, do you know where you want to intern next? How about tripwire?
QA, yeah.
Oh, QA.
Yeah, QA works.
Cool, awesome.
Definitely a possibility.
Work with me. Let's see. Because the kind of stuff that we learn here in class. Juice Google Web Toolkit. This is the stuff that we use at work. So,
What's juice?
the dependency injection. Go watch the dependency injection lecture. It's a way of dependency injection is a design pattern that lets you decouple your objects so they can be tested more easily. It's I like it. Anyway, go talk to Warren if you're interested in that, or know someone who is. And that's it. So I wanted to thank you guys for taking this class this term. Like I said, I've really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of it. So we've done the written portion of the final exam, and now it's time for it's a group project. It's not like up here, having to answer questions and stuff. So let me. Actually, I'll stop the recording because maybe someone that could use it every term. Oops. So I think that's it for now. Oops, Camtasia. Stop recording.